Hello, welcome to another World of Warships Destroyer inspection. We are looking at the Grozovoi. You might be wondering why it's 4 minutes in the game. I'm full HP, I'm 0 damage. Had a bit of an internet issue doing these two games today. And was just had to restart to get into this one. So we're 4 minutes late to the party. We have lost two destroyers at D. They died to no radar, basically, or maybe a Nova Sibirsk radar at worst, right? Very interesting. You see here our Thunderer is AFK in spawn, our GK is AFK in spawn, and our Petro is on this island. So this is what I'm coming back to into this game. So the Grozovoi. Grozovoi is kind of like a daring that's a lot easier to play, but has potentially less game impact. I think that is the best way to put it. Why is it easier to play? Well, you have these railgun shell arcs, which enables you to take range on your captain and farm from relative safety. You have these longer duration, standard smoke screens for about 2 minutes a piece total. So it lets you just kind of camp in a smoke and farm decent damage from one smoke. You have kind of same-ish torps, a very similar speed and damage and reload, but the Grozovoi torps go 2 kilometers farther. They go to 12 kilometers. You can't single launch them like Daring, obviously. So basically, it's kind of like a medium-range version of Daring. You don't really want to be playing up close like Daring does because you don't have nearly Daring's DPM, right? You don't have Daring's Hydro. You don't have Daring's short burst smokes to get out of a bad situation quickly. So it's kind of just like a more passive Daring. You have the similar suite of consumables, right? You have kind of all the same abilities at Daring, but the play is kind of centered around playing about 2 to 3 kilometers farther away than you would in a Daring. The Grozovoi is a very, very decent hybrid, very decent. Typically, what happens when I typically don't play Grozovoi, it's kind of for one reason, and it's kind of a reverse mirror of what most people's reasons to play Grozovoi are, and that is, I have the Alvaro de Bazan, and it's kind of just basically like a Grozovoi. You have a very similar speed. Also, we should talk about that. Grozovoi is noticeably faster than most destroyers. You go like 42-ish knots without the speed boost up, right? You have 6 kilometer concealment, which is nice. But Alvaro has similar HP without the heals that Grozovoi has with the heals. Almost identical, like guns, kind of. Same smoke, but actually better because you don't need to take Superintendent to get 3 of them. Overall, much better torps because it has like the deep water stealth torps that have a 40-second faster reload and hit for only 2,300 less damage. And that's kind of where I'm at when I'm not playing Grozovoi. Is I'm kind of not playing Grozovoi because I have the Alvaro de Bazan. It's just a much more interesting, similar playstyle hybrid to Grozovoi. Now, Grozovoi has something going for it, though, that is probably not true of really any other destroyer. If there's, it's kind of a jack of all trades destroyer, kind of like a Daring, kind of like an Alvaro de Bazan, but it does have this kind of interesting flavor of having, like, not deterrence level AA, but with the DFAA, you have investment cost AA. I think that's how I would put it. Like, a CV can't hover on this thing for, multiple drops per squadron. You'll actually shoot the planes down. Here you can see how good the shell arcs are at this range, and this is kind of how Grozovoi makes up for its kind of mediocre DPM, right? Because you have this 3.7-second reload with reload mod. You can take Fearless Brawler to get it down to about 3.4, and then you can take the Legendary mod to get that down even more to almost like a 3.1-second reload. But even with a full DPM on Grozovoi, gimping your utility, gimping your range, or gimping your concealment or something like that, even with that, you still don't really have like the greatest DPM. Like, we looked at Radar YY with the Ledgemon, and like, Radar YY with Ledgemon is more DPM than you can ever get on the Grozovoi, right? So now it doesn't have the shell arcs. Back to the shell arcs, you got the Russian shell arcs. They're quite excellent. The fire chance is okay. Your rate of fire isn't great, so you don't start a ton of fires, but you're a competent fire starter. But you see the range, like how easily you can fuck with destroyers, and this is what I mean by the comparison to daring. You're trying to fight destroyers, trying to farm battleships, opportunistically torp and smoke farm, but the range at which you can be effective is just way farther. You know, we're still missing a lot because this guy is wiggling his ass off, but you know, we got the Holland kill, right? And we're actually able to chip away at this Psalm, and even me pushing into him, even if he shoots back, he's just not really going to accomplish anything by shooting back, even though I am pushing into him. So we're kind of bringing the game back. It's kind of unfortunate that I had an internet issue and was AFK for the first 4 minutes because you saw how they were pushing. Probably could have had a lot better game impact. But yeah, we're actually able to fuck with this guy, and you have a lot of sustain in the Grozovoi, right? With Superintendent, which you absolutely should take, you know, you have 24-4 HP with 4100 HP heals, and you get 3 of them. Also, we're running Kuznetsov, which is really a sleeper pick on DDs. You know, rightfully so, the community hive mind always says to put him on Kremlin, maybe Petro, and then run him on the premiums, but Kuznetsov on a destroyer is in many situations like almost more toxic, because when destroyers are on super low HP and they're saturated, you know, especially like you fight a Shima in this thing, right? If a Shima is fighting you and you're on like 3000 HP, you know, he's probably doing maybe 1 to 2k per salvo, so he's gonna like hit you, and then your Kuznetsov heal is gonna put you back up above another salvo of HP, right? And then you can like survive 3-4 more salvos. You can survive a long time in DD fights. Obviously, it doesn't keep you alive if like a battleship or a cruiser's farming you, but I was pushing very aggressively to get this kill because I wanted to engage this guy before he could spot. I wanted to get the initiative on him, basically because of where the Schlieffen was. If I had to fight this guy in range of Schlieffen secondaries, I would obviously eat mad amounts of damage, and then probably have to burn a smoke. And I do kind of covet the smokes in the Grozovoi. I'll use them if I have to, or if an opportunity is like super juicy. But typically what I'm looking to do in the Grozovoi is I'm okay with like trading a bit of HP early. I'm trying not to trade mad amounts of HP, obviously, but at all times, you know, like when we were on that rock, right? You're trying to utilize islands. The Grozovoi is not a tanky destroyer in the sense that like it dodges shells very well. Yes, you have a very decent top speed, but you are quite big and long. You know, we talked about this with Lucian. You're kind of like the same hull, so you're not like the greatest at just eating shit open water. You're pretty easy to hit even with the speed boost on. So we're pushing back into A to try to find the sub. Now, of course, this is quite problematic. I'm not shooting because I want to get dark. And what is the sub doing? It's actually being bizarrely intelligent for a sub player. So that's why I'm popping the smoke and going full speed. Because what the sub was doing is doing what smart sub players do. He knows that if I shoot him, I get spotted, right? So all he's doing is sitting on the surface, and he's basically baiting me to shoot him. So if I had to use that smoke screen, or if I had accidentally used it, or something, and use it in a bad situation earlier against that Psalm, right, then this would have been very problematic, because guaranteed I would shoot him like those 3 or 4 salvos, but I would be spotted for so long in Schlieffen secondaries, right? So we get him killed basically by being able to call his bluff with the smoke screen, which is pretty cool. And this game is still very interesting. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the chat. It actually doesn't seem to be replaying, but basically our submarine, right around the time that I started playing this game, that I got reconnected to the server, he started ranting about wargaming, being a cheater developer, and a joke developer, as he plays a sub, mind you, as he plays a sub, the irony is thick and creamy. And so he basically said in all chat that he was going to go kite in spawn, and that their sub was free to have free reign on our team. And he basically just deliberately decided to grief this game. He will, of course, never get banned for this because the only thing Wargaming will ever ban you for is for saying mean, harsh, playground, fourth grade level insults in the chat. That will, of course, get you banned. But turbo and deliberately griefing your teammates' games will never get you banned because, of course, it won't. I'm opening up here, and this is the value of staying healthy. In a gunboat later on is our Montana is probably dead, right? So they've got a Sherman, Minotaur, crazy DPM, Schlieffen, really good secondaries. So I'm getting the fire on this guy, and I'm just trading HP, right? I'm okay to trade about 5,000-6,000 HP per fire. Like here, between me shooting and crossing the rock, I'll probably lose, in my mind, another 5,000 to 6,000 HP. But I can probably chip away at him and maybe even get a fire. And yeah, it's like, again, you see we're investing about 4 to 5,000 HP, but these are the kind of things that you just have to do. A really, really big mistake is when you've managed to stay this healthy to not utilize the HP, because your HP is a resource. I mean, it's consumable. It's really no different than a radar, a smoke screen, a speed boost, um, anything like that. Um, and then I'm using the smoke here because I do want to farm this guy. He just shot. So this would be a situation where it wouldn't really make any sense for me to stay open water because the amount of time it would take me to finish this guy, I would probably lose 5 to 6,000 HP, which I was okay with the first 2 times. But when you have the opportunity to not lose the HP, then, obviously you don't want to. Uh, I kind of got baited. I left the smoke because I didn't think he was going to shoot because he shouldn't have shot. He absolutely would have, lived a bit longer if he had not shot. So I ran out of the smoke. But something about Schlieffen secondaries, but really almost all secondaries, is typically speaking, whenever the battleship is perfectly nose in or perfectly stern into you, it basically has 0 secondary DPM. The Schlieffen doesn't have to show much angle, does not have to show much angle to get all of its secondaries off, but at like 0 degrees, perfectly nose in, perfectly stern in, um, yeah, it's definitely, um, boy, I really wish this chat was not bugged because it was wild. It was absolutely wild. This guy was still at this point ranting in chat about wargaming, like not about his team, because we have a very, very good chance to win. You see here, we're up on a few points, right? We're up on a few points, but my Thunderer is just in a horrible situation. I mean, he is, doing yeoman's work here, trying to get the cap, trying to stall their points. The reason why I'm opening up here in front of Minotaur and Sherman is I'm trying to, like, you see how long the Minotaur just spent shooting me? This is going to get him killed. Me being willing to lose, and listen, against a good Minotaur player, I easily could have lost 10, 15,000 HP there, right? But me making that conscious decision to trade my HP instead of letting the Thunderer lose HP faster is basically what won us the game. Now, obviously, combined with his intelligent use of aggression and his huge kill. So I was telling him in chat at this point that he won us the game. He's MVP. Basically, that kill on the Minotaur is pretty much what seals the deal for us. If he had not been able to kill the Minotaur, which isn't assured, obviously, Minotaur had a decent amount of HP. If he had not killed the Minotaur, then we would have been in a pretty shit situation because we would be down on HP. It would take us forever to get C. Um, and yeah, we'd be in kind of a shit situation. So him getting that kill won us the game. Um, Amazing. It's incredible. Basically, I did in fact end up having a teammate or two on this team, and now, I mean, it's 100% game over. There's literally nothing the Sherman could ever do to win this. Um, so we're able to pick up another kill on him. And the Grozovoi is a very chill experience. I mentioned that it has less game impact potential than Daring, which is 100% true. Daring has, 30-40% better DPM, way better fire starting. Um, the smokes are more guaranteed constant damage. Um, the torps are harder to use, but better inside their range of 10 kilometers, right? Pretty decent game impact for being AFK. Yeah, this creature right here. But as you see, every single one of our destroyers and our sub was like basically AFK this game. 1100 XP on a win is obviously like ridiculously bad. Um, yeah, very, very interesting gameplay, of course. But the Grozovoi has this like very consistent experience, I do think. In many games, it can be more consistent. Like you're not gonna have as many crazy like 3K base XP games in Groz compared to something like a Daring, where you get like 250, 300,000 damage in Daring, you get like 6, 7 kills. Those games don't really happen hardly at all in the Grozovoi because it doesn't have the DPM. But on the other hand, it has the ability to impact the game at much longer range in a less meaningful way. So while Daring kind of spends a lot of its time in this uh, 10 to 15 kilometer range, not really capable of doing anything. Obviously, once the Daring gets into its useful range, then it has like incredible game impacts. The fire starting is crazy, right? The Torps are such a nasty threat against anything, and way better for YOLOing, obviously. You have the Hydro, right? So you have all of these. The Daring is just so custom built around playing in that like 8 to 10 kilometer range. And then the Grozovoi is like a very, very similar kind of ship, but it's more meant to play in that like 10 to 14 kilometer range, like longer than Daring, which is obviously safer. And there will obviously be games where like there's a bunch of 12 kilometer radar and you're kind of fucked in the Daring, right? And so that's what I mean by the Groz being a more chill experience is like you're less stressed out if there's CVs because yeah, I mean, it's kind of cope, but the DFAA does shoot down some planes, right? Right? And it's not like a huge amount of planes. It's not like if a CV wants you dead, you have remotely any ability to stop it, and you're also big, right? So you're pretty easy to hit, especially with bombs and torps from carriers. But you do get to feel a bit better about yourself. You at least gain some game impact, right? This is going to be a very interesting game. This second game we played today. I think I actually played 4 games, but we're just looking at the last 2. I think we had like 3 wins and a loss, but the win and the loss that we're not showing were just like ridiculous blowouts. Um, so these were more like kind of typical games showing the strengths and weaknesses of the Grozovoi. But one, like I said, you're chill, a bit more chill in carrier lobbies because you get some form of game impact from the DFAAs that you get, right? And you do get 5 of them with Superintendent. They have like a good reload, so you kind of have them for almost every strike. And then also because in a lot of carrier lobbies, you're kind of forced to run away a lot of the time, and you can impact the game here. Like early game like this, this is a great way to get potentially some. Now, unfortunately, our carrier is, you know, kind of griefing. Because the second he sees me shoot these guys, he should immediately hover on him. It'll take them minutes to shoot this squadron down, right? And I could probably get several thousand damage off of each of these destroyers, but it's whatever. So what am I trying to do in the Grozovoi on this map, on this spawn? Well, in the Daring, right, which is a semi-logical comparison, like I said during the last replay, I would probably be in the cap because I have constant smoke ability for the CV, and I have the Hydro. I don't want to be in the cap in the Grozovoi because you're not super hard to torp out. I'm just spamming these torps in case one of the DDs comes in. So what I would like to do, especially again because of the range and shell arcs that I have, is I kind of want to get on these islands, um, which kind of seems like a maybe counterintuitive position for something like a Grozovoi. But basically, I don't want to be open water because if I have to smoke to dodge CV, then I've got a Gearing and a Shima that's 15 torps that are going to get shit into my smoke screen, right? So I definitely want to be on or near islands. Um, and then if I get on these islands, because I have such good shell arcs, no matter how they enter the cap, I'm going to have the range and the shell arcs to do pretty good damage to them. And if the battleship starts to push, if the Spontaneous starts to push, then I'll obviously have shots on that. So these destroyers are playing, basically what's happening is both CVs are going to hump the same cap all game, but then like not counter each other. It's going to be a very, very bizarre game CV wise. Um, So here you see the angle the Shima's on. He absolutely doesn't have torp angles on me. This is why I'm free to park like this, in case you're wondering. Because the only time he was angled in a way that would let him shoot torps through this cap, or this crack, was when he was over here on the right where my cursor is. So obviously he doesn't have the angle, and then when he came out and does have the angle, his ship was not at an angle. Um, and here you see the shell arcs. But in this situation, right, are the shell arcs good, and are these salvos maybe easier to hit? Yeah. I would have basically killed that guy in the daring, right? I mean, he would basically already be dead if I was in the daring. Um, and that is why this ship is kind of harder. You see, we're playing at close range because it's the best thing to help our team, right? Like I said, we're in these replays, we're always going for game impact we're going through win rate. Ugh, my goodness, we're going through for win rate through game impact play, and we are not going for win rate through damage farming. That's just how I play the game. Like I've said in many videos, you can easily get good win rate in a ship through just solely damage farming in it. And the Grozovoi to me is a bit frustrating to damage farm. Like I said, it's very chill because of the shell arcs, the OK DPM, the smoke, the heal, but it just doesn't farm a ton of damage. Now, you see the shell arcs coming in really handy for something like a Marceau at 9 kilometers. This would be a very, kind of decently hard target to hit with daring, even if he was gray lining like he is. And then the Grozovoi, you very comfortably hit a lot of these gunboats, and that's how you get your game impact, despite having lower DPM. Now, we looked at the Delny recently. And while I am not the biggest Grozovoi fan, I do think it's a very good destroyer. I think it's good. I do think it's a good destroyer. I think it's a chill experience. I do think it's fairly matchmaker resistant, and can have some decent game impact. The idea that you would ever play the Delny over the Grozovoi is clinically insane behavior. It really is. Open water, never using a smoke, no concealment, fearless brawler, fucking BFT, ledge mod Grozovoi. That ship is a better open water gunboat than the Delny is, which is really depressing. Back to why does the Delny even exist in the state that it's in? You literally will just get more damage and win more games in a fucking open water, no conceal, damage farming Grozovoi build than you ever would in the Delny, which is wild. I don't think that's the right way to play Grozovoi. I think there's just way better ships if you want that play style. But so this was a so far a very very super fun and engaging game. We're alone at this cap now. I don't really know what's going on. Our Kleb is farming a Petro instead of coming over to help me for some reason. The CB fucked off. So I'm now alone against a Sub, a Shima, and a Montana. So I was trying to use that island to block most of Monty's salvo. It kind of worked, right? He still got a decent hit on us. He gets a just absolutely fucking giga blessed gigantic gap in these torps. Very, very cool. Obviously, this is a situation where the daring torps are way better, or even a lot of other hybrids. I firmly believe, despite the lower damage, that Rigolo and Alvaro de Bazan just have objectively better torpedoes. They have crazy stealth, higher flood chance, better reload, way longer, longer range by 1.5 kilometers, and they get all of that for you get 8 instead of 10, and they're a bit slower, barely slower, but that's totally compensated for by the concealment. And this sub just is griefing me. I mean, he's just deciding to basically AFK grief me, getting 0 game impact of any kind, obviously, but doing the funny ruin one person's game situation, which is very, very cool, obviously. So I'm gonna smoke up because I want to get the Shima kill, and another very annoying thing is going to happen, and that is that our Malta decides that it makes way more sense to get a stern torpedo drop on a Montana than keep the Shima spotted from me. I instantly repaired the torps, and that was a obviously mistake because his torps were aimed so badly that they were aimed so badly that I actually kind of basically, if I had let those home on me longer, I actually would have dodged them, right? But here you see the Kuznetsov heal combined with the normal heal, giving us like a baby super heal almost, which is very very cool, recovering like kind of a crazy amount of HP in one go. And like I said in Delny and in the Lucian video, you do kind of have like for destroyers basically the worst kind of heal. Um, Now it does heal a bit more HP than some, but it's the rate of healing, right? It's not like most destroyer heals that have 1% healing per second. It has the 0.5% healing per second that Grozovoi, Delny, and Lucian all get. So the heal, takes some time to go through. It's not like a Daring heal or a Ragnar heal where like you kind of can't burn through the heal in a DD fight, right? Like getting 5k HP back in Ragnar, for example, in 14 seconds is like a really big rate of healing if you're getting hit by like 1,000 damage a salvo, right? It basically keeps your heal keeps up with the damage you're receiving. And then that's not really true of the Grozovoi. If you're getting hit by 1,000 damage from a destroyer every 3 or 4 seconds. That just your heal actually doesn't keep up with that, right? Um, so we're spamming these torps out. The game is now won, and a very, very, very frustrating game, undeniably. This was just one of those games that you know I was like, I think that's enough World of Warships for the day. Between the game where our sub decided to intentionally grief us, um, and this game where we basically got humped by a CV, a sub, and two DDs. Uh, high game impact, right? Terrible damage, right? You see here, top middle of the screen, terrible damage, 70k in a gunboat, pretty bad, obviously, but you know, won our team the game by holding C against all comers. We did, in fact, kind of become the main reason that our team won at least this side. Obviously, our team did good at A side, but a big reason for the win was we were able to just camp out C cap. And the DDs kind of didn't have a really good way of dealing with me once I got in on those islands. And I'm just trying to farm a little bit more damage because the game's over. I mean, we have 900 points to 200, right? Um, and the AP, we should mention, I should be using the AP here, in case you're wondering. Yes, I should be shooting AP at this guy. I just thought he was already dead because he got low, and then like my whole team stopped shooting at him, and he started healing. But the AP is very good. The Russian AP has a lot more penetration than similar AP, similar caliber AP, right? Like you can kind of Citadel things like Smolensk at like a very long range, kind of like the 10+ kilometer range, and even like Minotaurs, you're gonna kind of reliably Citadel around 8 kilometers. Um, so a very frustrating game, a very very frustrating game. Dreadnought in the Grows, and not a ton of damage, right? But high game impact with the positioning, and like no spotting damage, right? So we didn't farm, we didn't spot. Basically, we were just the CV pay pig, 21 plane kills on multiplanes, and then we did pretty good on the DDs, right? 12k, 11k, and 11k, and then 16k on the sub. And then the Montana was the only target we had to farm. So, in that situation, the kind of the bait play would be, I'm on this rock, I'm surrounded, I don't like being here, I'm gonna get pushed, the CV's humping me, the sub's humping me, I need to get out of here, right? And that would just be the wrong play, like 9 times out of 10 in that situation, because I have torps too. If these DDs really wanted to YOLO me and get me off the rock, and they want to go 1-for-1, let them go 1-for-1, right? Like, assume that uh, you know, don't play passive assuming the worst will happen. Play passive when you have to play passive, or run away when you have to run away. But in that situation, it's like unless the sub decided, and I got very very blessed. The sub player was like pure dog shit, like most submarine players are. Of course, of course, of course, because all that guy had to do was just submerge and get on my ass, and I was dead. Right? Like all he had to do was just fucking go behind me, pop up, and kill me. So fortunately, he's quite bad. But then again, most sub players are quite bad, right? You have to assume they're kind of bad. Um, you just have to make the assumption that the enemy, unless they display talent right away, is probably not talented. Um, and don't give up a good position because maybe something will happen, right? Yeah, sometimes you die. There's definitely games where a different player in that Shima would have been like, oh, this guy's on a rock and I don't really know what else to do, so I'm gonna go YOLO Torp him at 2 kilometers and just be the one for one king, right? Those situations happen, but they're not like super likely, right? So just it's kind of key to just like keep your head. A lot of players have this habit of just moving too much. There's a lot of times where the right play is to not move. Um, you have a good position, you're blocking a cap, you are deterring things. If they get spotted, you can actually kill them, like you saw there. Anytime the DDs got spotted, we did quite decent damage to them. Um, and there's so many players who die just because they move, like they have ADHD and they have to move. They're like, I'm on this rock, I'm surrounded, I gotta go, and then they leave and get torqued, right? Um, so yeah, let's hop back into the port and we can go over the spec. Okay, let's look at the build. There's basically nothing you would want to change other than like grab speed boost. Obviously, I don't play a lot of Grozovoi. I just don't have it on there. But engine boost obviously. Prop mod I think is overall better. Concealment for sure. You don't really like even need steering, so there wouldn't even be a point to not taking concealment. And then reload. The ledge mod is good. The ledge mod is definitely like the play if you are playing AFK open water farm Grozovoi build. But it's kind of not the play if you're not, because you have a 6% better DPM, which is nice, right? It's nice to have 6% DPM, which is about 0.2 seconds off of your reload. But getting these torps, like the torps are not amazing. The torps are not amazing. But adding 20% to this time to reload, adding an extra 26 seconds to the torp reload is kind of annoying, especially because I think I've mentioned this in a couple of other videos, but getting torps to reload in about 2 minutes is a very, very crucial threshold to hit. Um, because that's kind of like how a lot of smoke lasts, and that's how a lot of events in the game. There's kind of like 2 minute beats to a lot of games, whether it's smoking and things like that. And like the ability to have the torps back in just over 2 minutes, 2 minutes with a slight adrenaline rush, is kind of crucial because like your smoke is just about exactly 2 minutes. So if you're in like a really bad situation and you have to smoke and you like dump torps and then smoke to live, but you're getting pushed, as soon as you have like the ledge mod, now you thoroughly don't have the torps back by the time the smoke ends. Whereas with just a bit of adrenaline rush, you get the torps back before the smoke ends in this situation. So the ledge mod is not like a buff. The ledge mod is valuable if you are going to play damage farm grows, uh, which typically involves taking Fearless Brawler or dropping the concealment. And then regarding the captain, the problem with the grows is like daring, you only get 2 heals, and that's not that big of a deal. The real problem is you only get 2 smokes and 2 speed boosts. Um, the 2 heals I think is actually livable. Like it's fine. It's not great. You do want a third heal, but if you had 3 speed boosts, 3 smokes base, and a repair part, 2 repair parties, then I would probably recommend Fearless Brawler. But this is kind of like the overall most viable and versatile build in the Grozovoi because you can definitely drop concealment for Fearless Brawler. I don't think there's really any world you drop Superintendent or Range though. Like I truly don't think that these skills right here that I'm swiping over are negotiable. Cause like if you want to play Grozovoi with no range, then you are like aggressively griefing yourself by not being in the daring. Like 90% of the reason to play Grozovoi over a ship like Daring is the effective gun range. So the idea of playing with railguns at 12.6 when you can easily play Daring with float shells at 12.6 with way better DPM and fire starting and better utility is like to me clinically insane. that people don't play range on the Grozovoi. It's like there's no reason to play this ship if you don't take range. Like there just is no reason to play it um, without range on the captain spec. So and then, like I said, you only get 2 speed boosts, 2 smokes, 2 heals base. You kind of have to take Superintendent plus the standard DD build. So, like realistically, these 5 points are up for debate. Like these are the 5 points up for debate. And like I said, Fearless Brawler instead of Concealment is the AFK damage farm special. In that case, you would absolutely want to grab the Ledgemon. 100%, you would want to grab the Ledgemon. Um, but the rest of the points are you're kind of locked in. Groz does have like a fairly greedy captain because again, no point in playing it without range. Have to take the standard DD, skills are kind of mandatory. And then Superintendent's kind of crucial because it's 4100 extra HP and extra smoke and an extra speed boost, right? Like the amount of extra survivability and game impact going from 2 to 3 of these consumables gives you is kind of crazy. And then I'm just throwing the last point on Kuzi's improved consumable specialist because it does like kind of noticeably take running with the flag especially. We're buffing the reload on this by 15%, right? Because we're buffing it by 5% here, and then we're buffing it by 10% here. Yeah. So getting the smoke back 15% faster is a non-insignificant amount of time. Same thing with all of the, with the hydro and the. You have a lot of consumables, right? So you're even more incentivized to take this because it applies to 3 different consumables. There's also nothing really worth taking. Like you have a good enough reload. You don't need gun feeder. You don't need IFA. The turret traverse is quite decent on Grozovoi, 11.5 with reload mod. There's not really a reason to take grease the gears. It's kind of like you would throw this on flood chance, which is like semi-valid, but torps are just very like okay. They're just very very okay torpedoes. You see here like they're basically like I mean they are basically daring torps that go 2 extra kilometers. Um, but they're not like they're kind of spammable, but they're not, and that's why another reason why I think Alvaro and Alvaro has like some of the better, honestly, hybrid torps in the game, because they're spammable with range, with concealment, with flood chance, with reload, right? Um, the Grozovoi torps, and like I said this about Delny, when you have a reload on a hybrid of uh, over 2 minutes based on the torpedoes, right? 129 seconds. You're not really in the spammable torp range because that's a long time to be without torps. 2 minutes 9 seconds. If you get pushed, it's kind of like you're fucked. So you do have to be a bit more cautious with the Grozovoi torps than something like Alvaro, where you can just spam them out, right? But they're decent. They're fine. Um, Grozovoi, and that's Grozovoi in a nutshell. Grozovoi is fine at everything. Uh, Range farming, it's decent. Destroyer fighting. You have 6 kilometer concealment, okay DPM, a heal, a decent amount of HP. Decent at destroyer fighting. Uh, Smoke farming. Decent. You got 3 smokes with Superintendent. Survivability. Decent with the heals. You're big, easy to hit, but you got the heals and the HP, right? Torping. Decent. Everything about the Grozovoi is decent. And to me, that's not that interesting. Um, Now the daring is also decent at everything, but the daring's game impact and potential is so much higher. I really do think than Grozovoi, and it's because of how like much more DPM you pump out into people. Um, the smokes you have like the same amount of time per game in smoke, but because they're the short bursts, you're like more guaranteed to get game impact. So the daring is like a sweaty close range version of the Grozovoi, and the Grozovoi is like a chill long range version of the daring, kind of. Yeah, I think that's a kind of overall like a reasonable summary. It's a very, very, very decent destroyer. It's just like the play style is not fun. It's chill, right? And listen, there are ships that I play that are chill when I just want to relax, but yeah, it's just not like a go-to for me. Like very very solid in randoms, very solid. There's nothing wrong with the Grozovoi, but grinding the Grozovoi line in like 2024, if for some reason you don't have it already, I don't really know, man. I guess if you kind of want like Daring's suite of consumables and never out of the fight game impact, because like again with Grozovoi, you're never really out of the action. You've got okay torps, decent guns, good range, decent survivability, decent AA. You're never out of the game. So if you like the way that Daring is not out of the game, but you like have a hard time hitting shells in the Daring, you tend to die because you're playing too close range, things like that, then maybe the Grozovoi kind of makes sense. But it's hard to like think of why to play this thing. When I'm playing solo, it's like not in the top five destroyers I want to play solo, and then in a div, it's like not in the top fucking 20 really. I mean, like if you're playing in a div with another destroyer, there's just so many other better ships that have backup DPM, right? Uh, yeah, we will stop the yapping. That will do it for the Grozovoi. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.